Today I'm going to be setting this 6x6 Cabela's ice fishing tent up with a stove jack. This is an uninsulated tent, and yeah, I've been wanting to do this ever since I got it, so I'm going to take you guys through and show you what I'm doing. So my plan here is to have this stove jack. Initially I was going to put it down kind of right at the edge here, but I'm worried that might be a little too close to this wall, so I'm actually going to kind of move it up just a little ways here, probably about 4 inches. I got a permanent marker here, and I'm just going to draw along the outside of this stove jack. And another thing I should note is this has Velcro. This is the soft side. This is the rough side. I picked this up off Amazon, and I think it was about $12. Yeah, anyways, let's just jump right into this here. And I'm not really going to measure this out. I'm just going to kind of eyeball about, I don't know, it's about 4 fingers, 5 fingers on each side. That's good enough for me. Actually, I'm going to go up a little bit higher just because I'm going to get rid of this little opening here because it looks ugly. And then I'm just going to guys up closer here in a second, about 1.5 inch away. Depending on how picky you are, you might want to use a ruler for this. I'm just eyeballing this, so I'm not too picky. That's kind of going to be where the Velcro is going to be sitting on all in here. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to cut just a little bit inside of here. I'm going to leave lots of room, and then I'm going to kind of fold back the fabric, and then I'm going to put the Velcro on here. I'll just kind of show that here real quick. I'll just take the strips of Velcro I have, and then I'm going to sew them with the material folded back underneath. I'm going to sew that in so then it doesn't fray this material. And after, I could just take the stove jack and press it on here, and then it'll just be kind of a quick little install. Might be good to mention at this time too, I'm not really sure if this is a good idea or not. I'm really not sure what's going to happen once I start cutting into here. But either way, I'm going to put this up, and if I screw it all up, at least you guys will know what not to do. That's kind of a lot of the point of my channel here, is to make mistakes, show you guys how I'm learning from my mistakes and how I move forward from my mistakes. So yeah, stick around and we're going to see what happens. So like I was saying earlier, guys, I'm not going to be cutting right on this line where I lined up the Velcro. I'm going to be cutting a little bit in from that. So again, I can fold it over. So I'm going to start maybe about 1/4 inch in, and here's the moment of truth. There's my first cut, and I'm making sure that I stay a little ways away so I have lots of room to fold it over, just to make sure I give it that strength after I cut it out. Remember, you can always take more off, but if you take off too much at the start, then you can't really go back and put it back on. That's a little bit more of a challenge, so I'm going to try to be a little bit safe here. It actually stays together pretty good. I wasn't sure if it was going to fray all up or what would happen, but there you go. There's the hole. Stove jack will go over top there. I'll cut my hole later. And yeah, so far, not so bad. The next step, because right now I can't really fold this over, I think I'm going to have to cut it right through the corner here. Cut a little line there. Cut a little line there. Down at the bottom here, I'll cut a little line. Down here, cut a little line. So my first strip would say be this long to where my finger is. So when I'm sewing this in, I'm using just a regular needle. I don't know, you can use anything you feel comfortable with. I like the thick ones. And then I'm actually using some pretty thick, this is braided fishing line. It's like 40 pounds probably. So it's just old. I had it on an old reel, and rather than wasting it and throwing it in the garbage, I figured I'd just repurpose it. I do this a lot for when I'm sewing anything. I use braided fishing line. I find it works really, really good. It's super strong, and it hasn't let me down since. So make sure you get a big, long strip to start. So you can go all the way to the start and all the way to the end without having to retie and have like a whole bunch of random knots throughout your project. Sorry, that probably looked pretty gross, but you do what you got to do, right? And yeah, so good knot there on the back. Got my needle here. I got this Velcro from the dollar store. It was like $1.25 each pack of it. And it actually has sticky stick on the back. So that's even better. Like, this is great. So I'm just going to peel this off. I'm going to put this down for a second so I don't poke myself in the hand. And then I'm going to kind of put it so you can see it's about halfway on. Then I'm going to flip that up. That to the end. Put that to the end. And wow, that's already like pretty strong actually, just like that. That's actually pretty surprising. But now I'm just going to start sewing this in. All right, so I have it going through here now. And pull her all the way to the back of the knot. And then I'm going to push her back through. And then on this back side, that's where I'm going to tie my knot together. Just a couple overhand knots. And I'll show a back view of this too, guys. In the corners, I'm going to put them pretty tight, but then as I go along, like lengthwise, I'm just going to put pretty big gaps. Like, again, if this ever frays or if I notice that it needs some more reinforcement, I can go back later and put some more in. And once you start doing this, it actually should go pretty quick. Again, a stapler would probably be a lot quicker and a lot easier. But where's the fun in that, right? Okay, so now I'm going to go around back and I'm going to tie a big knot again with my starting string and this one. And then I actually have some super glue and I'm going to super glue those together. Okay, so now I'm just going to be tying these two together, my starting line, I guess, and then the finishing line. Just like that. And then I'm just going to take the smallest little bit of super glue here. And very carefully, you don't want to get super glue on like certain materials because it can damage them. It'll like eat through them. So you have to be super, super careful when you're squirting this. Okay. All right, and then I'm gonna take my good old trusty Swiss Army knife scissors. And I'm just gonna cut the ends here. And for good measure, just because one's already done, I'm just gonna test it out here and see. And yeah, that's on there good. Like that fits on there great. So we're gonna keep going and we'll see how she looks when she's done. So far, that's what I got. That's the outside there. And the moment of truth. That goes on. Perfect. So I'll cut my hole here, and then, yeah, just peels right off like that. And when I want to put her back on, just push it on, put my stove jack through the back. I'll show you the other side what it looks like. That's what it looks like on the other side. All right, guys, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the stove jack, my flue, I'm going to be placing this on my flue on the stove jack. I'm going to be tracing around it with a permanent marker, so that way I can cut around it with some scissors and then place it into place, and it should be ready to go after that. And then, close to the final step here, we're going to throw her on. Just again to make sure everything fits nicely. Oh, I put it on the wrong side. There you go. Pop that on there. The stove jack will come through on this side. I'd say that looks pretty good. Get you guys in here for a closer view. So I say that turned out pretty good. And then there's a view from the outside. So now, guys, we're going to be setting up the tent outside. It's about -10 right now. I just finished shoveling a little area for the tent. We're going to be putting the stove pipe through the stove jack, testing everything out, and making sure everything looks good. So let's just get to it. So far, guys, I have to say, so far, so good. That is like cooking in there. I'll show you in a second here. I got a thermometer in there. It's about 20 degrees in there with the heat. I actually had to open up the doors just to let some more air in. Another thing that's worth noting is that I have a carbon monoxide detector in there. You never really want to do this without a carbon monoxide detector, or maybe a fire or smoke detector. For the most part, I'm just going to be using this for ice fishing, but I probably will do a couple campouts in it in the future. I have a thermometer in here as well. It's about 20 degrees in there right now. It's probably cooled down a bit since I opened the door, sorry. If you are doing this with an ice fishing tent, you want to make sure that you have this side strapped down, or whatever side that you have the wood stove on, because if for whatever reason there was a wind and this blew in, that would knock your stovepipe in and it could cause a pretty big mess. So it's not very windy right now, so I didn't bother doing it, but you would want to make sure that you have this strapped out with an ice stake or a stake in the ground to make sure that there's something pulling on this. And also, you'd want to stake the whole tent down to the ground as well to make sure it's not going to be blowing around, because if that stovepipe fell over and hit you or anything, that wouldn't be a good situation. So I'll take you guys inside and I'll show you what it looks like. So guys, you can see on here now it's 20 degrees. I actually don't know if you can see that from here, but it's 20 degrees. It got up to 22 degrees in here with everything closed. I always do keep 2 vents open, and this door is open a little bit as well. You guys always want to make sure as well that you have a carbon monoxide detector or even a smoke detector in here while you're in here, especially if you're going to be camping. The stove jack is working perfect. I can see that there's no burns around it, and it's been going for about 45 minutes to almost an hour now. There's not really too much heat hitting the back of the tent here, so there's this good distance from the back. I'll show again how far away I did put this. If you guys want to know more about this FireHiking wood stove, I did a video on it about a week ago, and I'll link that in the description below. It tells you everything you need to know about this wood stove. It's really great so far. It puts out a lot of heat. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you like this video and you found it helpful, please like and subscribe, and hit that thumbs up button. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.